Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. Happy New Year. I'm not sure if it's still okay to say Happy New Year, but Happy New Year, everybody. Super excited to be here one more night in the land of the living with Bougie Girl Cyber Happy Hour to bring you another amazing Her Story episode with Samone Smith. I'm super excited to have this woman of God on with us on tonight so you all can hear her story, be inspired by her story, be encouraged by her story. So if you haven't had a chance to do so, invite your friends, invite your family, tag somebody, let them know it is Bougie Girl Cyber Happy Hour time. Come into the room. Let's get this party started. It is Friday night. It is happy hour time. We want to get happy. We want to be encouraged. We want to be inspired and uplifted. So don't be scared. Tag somebody, share this out, message somebody, start a watch party, whatever you need to do it because we want to fill the room. Feel free to say hello to us as you're entering the room. If I don't say anything, it's not personal. You might be on my personal page. If you're not on the Bougie Girl page, I may not see it. So say hi to Samone, say hi to us, ask questions because we want you to be a part of this conversation. This conversation is for our audience. This conversation is for you because we're here to encourage you, to inspire you through the stories of the women that we have on here. And we have an amazing woman with us tonight. Her name is Samone Smith. She is a woman on a mission to empower, equip, and inspire women to live for God, be authentic, and walk in victory and purpose. In 2001, she founded Kingdom Women Walking in Victory Women's Ministry, formerly known as Christian Women Walking in Victory, whose mission is to help women to reach full spiritual maturity through mentorship, discipleship, prayer, biblical principles, outreach, empowerment, conferences, and workshops. Samone is the author of the book From Defeat to Victory, The Victorious Woman Journal, and her latest book entitled Flaws, Flaws, 5 Steps to Radical Self-Care, which will be released soon. Super excited about that. I love self-care. She's an ordained minister, mentor, conference host, and empowerment speaker. In 2018, she launched From Defeat to Victory series services, where she offers online courses, spiritual counseling, mentoring classes, and workshops, all designed to help women experience victorious breakthroughs, both naturally and spiritually. Known as the Victory Strategist. To women, Samone knows exactly how to help women turn their defeats into their victories. After living a spiritually defeated life until her late 20s, Samone can relate to women on so many levels. She is the example that this generation needs to see, to know that it is possible to live for God, be authentic, and to walk in total victory. Samone is a native of St. Louis, Missouri. Currently resides in Houston, Texas with her husband, Alan. She is the mother of 2 boys, 3 bonus daughters, and 2 bonus grandchildren. Wow, so awesome. I'm super excited, you guys. Come on, let's greet Samone tonight. Hey, Simone.
Oh, hey, bougie girl.
How you doing?
Oh, I'm good. Good evening. Good evening. I'm so excited to be on the Bougie Girl platform.
Yes, ma'am. We are super excited to have you with us on tonight. Super grateful for you. So I want to say Happy New Year to you. And I want to, before we get started, how are you feeling right now about everything that's going on around us? You know, we just saw some interesting events happen at the Capitol Hill. How are you feeling about what's going on in our world today?
I feel good. I'm one of those type of people that if you really like controversy and all of that, I may not be the one to talk to because I see victory. I see God moving, and so I'm not moved by what I see. I don't know if you saw my latest post yesterday. You know, prayer is what I do, so there's no need to start praying because I pray. And I understand that when things begin to look contrary to what you are praying for, that God is still in control because the word says that we walk by faith and not by sight. So I'm not moved by what I see. I think it's necessary. I have compassion for people. I have compassion for the world. I have compassion for the people that have been affected. But I believe that God is in control and I stand on my victory and I can't apologize for that.
Amen. And you know what? We shouldn't apologize. And that's so awesome to encourage those that are, maybe going through something right now that you need to be prayerful right now. You
Yes.
know, if you haven't started praying, you need to get to praying, right?
Yes,
And
Yes.
that's good that you already have. So when we have a lifestyle of prayer, how important is it to have a lifestyle of prayer, especially when we encounter times like this?
Extremely, because when things like this happen, really is not the time to start praying. We have to be ahead. We have to be ahead of the end. That's why the word tells us to pray without ceasing. Because when you already prayed up, then you're ready for when tribulation come, when things come, you're ready, because your prayer have already empowered you. So prayer is very important.
Amen. So, what has 2020 taught you about yourself? Have you been able to maybe have some fresh revelation about you as a woman? What has 2020 taught you?
2020 has taught me to trust the God in me,
Amen.
and to be confident in the woman of God that I am. Because before the pandemic, and God was already dealing with me on some personal things. I was really struggling internally, before the pandemic hit, and asking God, but asking questions and trying to get clarity. And really, He was already giving me things. You know, He don't give us everything, but He
Right.
shared. He said He would not leave us ignorant. And so when we lack confidence in who we are, we can overlook those things that he's trying to tell us, because we're thinking maybe we're not. Who are we? You know what I'm saying? And so I learned to trust the God in me and to be confident in the woman of God that I am. That's what I learned in 2020.
That's awesome. So, what are you grateful for?
I am grateful, besides God, life, family, kids, I'm grateful for another chance at love. I'm grateful for that. I've been through a divorce after almost 10 years of marriage. And so, still a newlywed. I guess we're a year and a half in. So I'm grateful not just for another opportunity to be married, but for it to be right, to experience real unconditional love, to experience real true friendship. So I'm grateful. I'm extremely grateful for that, for another chance at love.
That is so beautiful. We're going to talk a little bit more about that as we get into the story. So, what do you about your second chance at love? Because I am excited to hear this because that gives me hope. Because I'm like, you know what, Lord, I'm going to get married again one day too. So I'm
Right.
excited to hear that part of your story. What do you no longer take for granted?
I no longer take time for granted. That's why, I commend you and what you're doing, being bold, with your platform. Even before you invited me to the platform, I followed the platform. I thought it was amazing. And you're doing a great job. And so we have to be bold. We have to do what we feel we need to do, regardless of what anybody have to say, regardless of how you may look, because we take time for granted so much, but this is not the time to take it for granted. So I am no longer taking time for granted.
Amen. And that is so true. And thank you so much for following us before you got became, your guest tonight. Because you know what, it takes some boldness to be on social media every week because that's
Yes.
not my personality. I'm an introvert. I think I am anyway.
Right.
So it's like it takes some boldness. And so thank you so much for just being a part of the Bougie platform. You're an official Bougie girl. Once you're a guest, you're an official Bougie girl. So just go ahead and embrace it. So, let's get into your story. So, let's go back to when you were growing up in St. Louis. You said that's where you're from. What was going on in your life as you were growing up as a young girl? You're in St. Louis. What did your childhood look like?
I had a really good childhood. So I don't have a story of abuse or any of those things. Thank God, because unfortunately, so many women do. But my childhood, I had a really good childhood. I grew up in a two-parent home, although my father is not my biological father, and I rarely say that because he's my dad. That's my daddy. But he came into my life at the age of 2, and he was always there, always consistent. My dad is an amazing father, amazing grandfather. And so, because I deal with women so much and I hear so many stories, I'm grateful that God placed a genuine, real man in my life, you know. And so my childhood was good. I didn't grow up in a Christian home per se, but they were good people. You know, I was spoiled. I wouldn't say spoiled. I had everything. You know, I didn't want for anything. I was the only child until the age of 10. So I have two sisters, so we're all like 10 years apart. I'm 42, 23, and 30. And so I was the only child for a long time. But yeah, my parents didn't find Christ until my baby sister, you know, came about. And so they're believers now, but I didn't grow up like that, but they were still good people. And so my childhood was really good. Just as my teen years, for some reason, I was a rebellious child. And so I don't buy that story of coming from a two-parent home, you know, because I came from there. But I was a rebellious child, and I just kind of grew up fast. I was grown, like, you know. And so other than that, you know, like I said, I had a really good childhood. St. Louis was good. Like I said, it wasn't until my teen years when things really began to just kind of get out of control for me. But I had a good childhood.
Okay. So you were talking about, growing up in a two-parent household, the man that, is your dad, you call him daddy, is your stepdad, so did you ever know your biological dad, or did he ever have an impact in your life?
Oh, that's a whole nother story that I'm going to try to keep short, but just to give God glory. He wasn't around when I was a child. Um, at the age of 15, I had a brother who was 12, and in the middle of my mom and his mom trying to get us together to meet, my brother was murdered at 12. And so the first time I met him was at his funeral. And then that was also the first time that I saw my biological dad. And so I was 15. And so you can just imagine the anger that I had towards my dad, because here I am seeing you for the first time at my brother's funeral that I never met. And so I had a lot of emotions going on with that. A couple of years after that, my dad wrote me a letter. My biological dad wrote me a letter. He had gotten saved, and he, apologized. And as a teenager, I was like, whatever, I'm not. I got a daddy. And so that was the attitude I had. Long story short, it wasn't until well into my adulthood and in ministry when I began to desire a relationship with my biological dad. And so I knew he was a pastor. I knew my grandmother and grandfather. My grandmother was an evangelist. My grandfather was a pastor. So I knew these things about them. And so, of course, as I'm getting into ministry and getting older, I'm thinking like, man, I would like to, meet him. I'm more mature now. And so, long story short, maybe 3, 4 years before I moved to Texas, I moved. It was a little bit in between that. I met him when I had my first son. He came to the baby shower, and then there was nothing else. Still was no connection. Um, 4 years before I moved to Texas, and I was telling my ex-husband, I'm like, I'm going to reach out to my real dad. I really need to connect with him. And we were moving, and I told my ex-husband, I said, my dad lives somewhere in this area. As soon as we settle, I'm going to reach out to him. Well, I moved right next door to my biological dad, like right next door, right next door.
Like, so your house is here and his house is here.
Yes, our yards touch. So not across the street,
Wow.
not down the street, but right next door. And
Wow.
so that's part of my story is victory, because so much God has done in my life just being obedient. And so I moved right next door to him. And those 4 years before I moved to Texas, we developed a relationship. So I do have a relationship with my biological dad. He's really like my best friend. And it's we have an amazing relationship. I was ordained in 2012 by my spiritual father at the church I belong to, but my biological dad ordained me before I moved to Texas.
That is
And
so
so
beautiful.
we have a relationship. So that's a whole nother story. That's a whole nother story.
But what an awesome testimony, like you said, victory, right? Like how that, you didn't really know him, but how God ordained it for you to come together before you moved to Texas, and how you were able to develop a relationship, and now you're best friends. Like, who can say that, right? Because so many women desire to
Yes.
have a relationship with their dad and they don't, and you were able to do that. What a
And that's
blessing.
why, and I like to share that. I like to share that with women to give hope, like in God can do anything, and there's nothing with, it doesn't interfere with the relationship I have with my dad, my real dad, my,
Yeah, your dad. Yeah, the man who raised
you
you.
know, so yeah, God is amazing.
That is so beautiful. And so I want to go back. I know you mentioned you had a your childhood. You know, when you were a teenager, you got a little rebellious. Was that after the funeral? Do you feel like that had a part to play on maybe you acting out because I meet this man. You're a little angry, or were you rebelling prior to that?
You know what? I really can't pinpoint it, honestly. I really can't. It could have been a little bit of that. Because when I think I was 10 when my mother told me that my stepdad wasn't my real dad. I was 10.
Okay.
And so I think that's where it started, at that point. Even though nothing really changed, just in a young kid's mind, it was kind of like, what? You're not my daddy. And so I think it kind of started there.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I always wondered, when you watch these movies and they're like, he's not your dad. We don't want to tell them that this is not. How does that impact you? Like, what emotions are invoked when that is said to you? Do you feel rejected? I mean, because this man has been raising you, he's loves you, but now that you realize, okay, he's not my dad, what changes in your mind? It may not have changed for him, but for you.
Yeah, nothing changed for him. Really, I was more angry with my biological dad. I felt rejected. And I was feeling like, why didn't he want me? And so yeah, it was more that it made me think more so about, okay, so that means I have a real dad out here, so um and then I knew that I had a sister also that I was 6 months apart from, and I knew that he was in her life. And so it made me feel like, what's so special about her, where they took her in, but you kind of rejected me. So yeah, I dealt with that
So
for a long time.
can you give some advice or some encouragement for women who have dealt with rejection, and how they can just get through that, because I've dealt with rejection as well. So I always believe that God brings to this platform like-minded women or have similar testimonies.
Hmm.
So how can you encourage those who have gone through any type of rejection to help them to move past it? Because there might be somebody on here now that's dealing with something like that.
Definitely with rejection, and like you said, we've all dealt with it in some type of way. And I can say don't take it personal, but it feels personal when it's happening, but it's really not personal. We've done, it's all about that person that's rejecting you,
Right.
but the fact that we take it personal is what make it hurt so bad. If it's a man, it's like with me, did he like her better than me, or whatever the case may be. And it's not personal, it's the other person. And so with me, with rejection, I mean, that's just pretty much how I deal with it. I take it off of me, and I recognize that, that it's not my fault, whatever the case may be. Even though it hurt, it's happening to me. It's not my fault. It's not my issue. It's an issue they have, and that's when we have to just continue to love on ourselves, and keep ourselves uplifted.
So what does that look like? Love ourselves. What does that delve into that a little bit more? What does that look like?
I'm learning self love. I would say the past couple of years, if you would have asked me before 2 years ago if I loved myself, I would have been like, yeah, I love myself. What you mean, do I love myself?
Right.
So, but after going through a divorce, I was forced to have to really love myself. And what that meant for me was really learning how to support myself, not looking for others to support me. Learning how to encourage myself, not looking for others to encourage me, because you're going to go through something
Right.
when you're going to have to be there for yourself. You want to go through something where no one else is going to be able to be there for you but you. you
Right.
know and so for me it was divorce. And in that, just I just told myself I'm going to have to be there for myself. I didn't even want to talk to people anyway, so if I wasn't talking to people, who else was going to help me? And
Right.
so for me, it was learning to encourage myself, learning to support myself, learning to love myself, and learning, what do that look like to love myself? You know, learning to date myself. So many people don't know how to really date themselves. For some of us, it's easier than others, but
Right.
those that struggle with being by yourself and spending time with yourself, you're going to have to really learn how to be comfortable in your own skin.
Right.
You're going to have to be comfortable in your own silence when no one is around. You're going to have to learn to be comfortable in that. So for me, self love is more than anything knowing how to support yourself fully and learning how to be there for yourself. And how I make that easy. I make that easy because I treat myself as if I'm helping somebody else. It's so easy for us to help other women, support, encourage, and so I give that to me. And so the same, so whatever my situation is, I look at it as if it's another woman in that situation. And I say to myself what I would say to that woman. And so that's how I do it. And that's what I learned to do, because we can easily I can Miranda, girl, you are beautiful, you are powerful, you are bold, you are bougie. I can tell you that, but then when it's me, I'm like, oh Lord, I'm feeling worthless. And so I have to give that same thing to myself. And so that's self-love to me.
That is so powerful. And that's such a great definition. Self-love is turning that love out away from us and giving it to other people, that love that we desire for ourselves. Like you said, you're telling somebody else, you're this, you're that, but do I feel that way about myself? And how can I tell myself? You're looking at yourself in the mirror every day and saying, yes, I am. I decree and declare. And that's why our words are so powerful, Simone. Our words, especially as women that have gone through brokenness and trauma, our words are so powerful, right?
All in our words. It's all
Yeah.
in the words. Hmm.
It is. And so when did you discover or find out, ministry is my calling? I was born, my purpose is to be in ministry. When did you discover that? How old were you and what was going on?
Definitely ministry chose me. I did not choose ministry. This was in 2011. And so I was 30, 31.
Mhm.
Um, and ministry chose me as I was when I rededicated my life back to God. I was so serious about wanting to live for God. Like I took it so seriously.
Yeah.
And so as I focused on my own walk and my own process, God began to tell me how I was able to do what I was doing so gracefully. And what I mean by that is turning away from the world, coming out of situations that I was in. I was with my children's father, and we had kids out of wedlock. But once I rededicated my life back to God, one day I was like, we can't live together no more. And I was so serious. We had two kids. He's like, what you talking about? We got kids. And I'm like, mm-mm. Like, no. And I was so serious to the point where I moved out of the house about 18. And so I was so serious that I went back home because that's how serious I was. And up until that point, my life was always to just stay away from home. You don't go back home. You stay strong. Don't go back.
Yeah.
And so of course now when I decide to go back, I have two kids going back. But that's how serious I was about God. I'm like, no, I got to get out of this situation. And so as I just focus on my own process, and God began to reveal to me that He graced me so that I could help other women. And I just received those words. It became my conviction, and I received it, and it's still my conviction to this day. And I tell people all the time, nobody is perfect, but the fact that I really believe that God wants to use me, that's my conviction every day. So it's like it's no giving up.
Right. And that's so awesome that you know that when God, came for you. Like he chases after us is like, look, I'm gonna come for you, whether you like it or not. You were serious about it because sometimes people don't always take it seriously. And
Yeah,
for you to take it seriously, where you would even, like you said, I'm gonna move back home. I don't want to, but I'm so serious about this. And
yeah.
I think that's why God can use you in a powerful way because you have such a that testimony. Do you find like because you are a woman in ministry, have you had a lot of challenges or have there been any like pushback because you are a woman in ministry?
Um, Maybe a little bit in the beginning when I was a little more of a babe. Um, but again, I always got my instructions from God. Of course there was a little issues here and there, but I always went back to what God said. I know when God has spoken something to me, and so when He speaks something to me, I hold on to it. And so I knew that He birthed Kingdom Women Walking in Victory through me. I knew that the ministry belonged to Him. I was only the founder of it. And so I lead it with that in mind. And so, of course, you deal with different women and, little things happen, but it's never been anything major because I've always conducted myself to the best of my ability as a woman of God, practice what I preach. If I'm wrong, I'm going to tell you that I was wrong. And so those things just really work for you, God wins every time. So, not so much. I think when you wasn't raised in the church, I know sometimes people have different type of protocols and things like that, and I didn't come from that. And so the only instructions I know are instructions from God. And so when I'm told you need to do this like this, I'm like, that's not what God told me, in the
Right,
most
right,
um it is a difference when you were raised in church when you were not raised in church. I just believe that is the difference. And so they came a little bit, but as I grew and matured, I became just more confident in the ministry that God has given me. And so no, not at this point. I would say my biggest challenge is because it's been what 10 years at this point since KWWIV, and just having to go through different transitions of life. I've grown myself. You have you see things differently. And so just going through that process with people can
right,
be a little difficult. Sometimes you change,
right.
evolving your thinking, evolving your beliefs. So that's kind of where I am now. And so I would say that's probably the most difficult, just having to evolve in front of people that know you, that support you, that's been around. It's like people do grow, and so
Definitely
that's
say
probably
this.
my biggest.
Right. Well, if you all have not joined us, or if you have not shared this out, if you have not tagged a friend, please tag your friends, share this out, share the broadcast on your wall, start a watch party. I am speaking with Samone Smith. We are about to get into her ministry. She has an amazing ministry that is called Kingdom Women Walking in Victory. So share this out so they can hear this amazing testimony. So tell us a little bit more about your ministry and what is the purpose of the ministry and what is, I know you mentioned it a little bit as far as, helping women who are in pain, but give us just a little bit more detail about your ministry.
The main thing about Kingdom Women Walking in Victory is that the purpose is to help women to reach full spiritual maturity. And so, as when I first came into the body of Christ, and I share this story a lot, but it's just part of my testimony. But you come in and, you're a baby, and everybody looks so mature, so godly, and you're trying to figure it all out. But if you stay long enough, you realize that that's not all the way true, you
Right.
know. And so for me as a young girl and as a baby in Christ, it was kind of heartbreaking. It was kind of discouraging. And so and I would tell God, like, God, what is this? Like, I had I could only talk to him about it.
Right.
And so he began to, as I kept pressing, because like I said, I was serious about my walk. So I wasn't going to let anybody, get me away from my process. And so he began to tell me as time was going on. I mean, because some things you carry sometimes for months, and it's like, God, what is this? What's going on? And so eventually, to tell me that he was going to use me in this area. And so, and he was showing me what was missing in the body of Christ. And so once I got that clarity, then it became easier. And so what God did with me, he graced me to become what I wanted and what I needed. And so that's really how KWWIB came about. And so as I matured and as I rededicated my life in 2008. So it wasn't until 2011 when I actually birthed KWWIB. So that's a few years of process. And
Right.
so it was a group of women that was kind of, gleaning from a distance. They kind of saw me and kind of saw my walk and saw the change. And so he just kind of used me and those women to birth KWWIV. And so, and like I said, I became what I needed, when I was a baby. I needed that accountability. I needed that support. I needed a prayer line. I needed a Friday night live chat because, okay, it's Friday. I'm saved now. What do you do on a Friday night now that you're saved? And so I started these Friday night live chat calls. And so I started with a Friday night call every week and a prayer line Monday through Friday. And so that's really how it started. And so, like I said, the purpose for the calls on Friday was for those, when you come, like it's a different life now. And so you can go Monday through Thursday, but then when Friday come, now you're ready to go back to what you're familiar to because you don't know what to do with your time. And so with these live chat calls, we would just get on a conference call, have conversations about different topics, and then that will carry you on until Sunday, and then Sunday will carry you through to Thursday, and then we back on the call again on Friday. And so this lasted for years, and of course, like anything, things grow and evolve. And so we still do the live chat calls, period, a little bit, here and there. But with me moving to Houston, I'm just kind of in that process of getting things started with where I am and seeing what that looks like for me now. So
That's
that's
so
how we
awesome.
started to help women reach full spiritual maturity.
That's so awesome. I love what you said. You said, I became what I needed. I think a lot of times God uses our process and our pain or allow us to be in those moments that at the time we're like, why am I going through this? And then you realize you're becoming what you needed, like what I needed during my pain. I'm
Yes.
going to be that for other women. And that is so awesome that you're able to do that. So when you're saying spiritual maturity, what does that mean?
Spiritual maturity, we have what carnal believers, you know, you have unbelievers, you have carnal believers, the babies, and then you have the mature believers. And it is God's plan for all of us to move on to full spiritual maturity, to come off of the milk and get on to the meat of things. Um, just on the surface level, learning how to get over a fence, learning how to, communicate, learning how to, just those simple things that we miss in the body of Christ, trying to get to the bigger things. but yet we don't know how not to walk in offense. We're still being offended, you know. So really, that's really what it's about, getting to that point where you are serious with your process, where you're really learning to walk out your process every single day as He's called us, so that we can get on to the real stuff, so that we can really get on to, okay, why am I here? Get on to your purpose. I say
Right.
all the time, so many people, you may know your church mission and vision, you may know your job mission and vision, but do you know your own life mission and vision? Those things are important, and those are the things that once we reach maturity, we begin to focus on our purpose, our calling, what God will have for us to do. And so, and learning how to walk in the spirit, learning how to not walk after the flesh. And so, that's what God is calling all of us to do.
And that's awesome. Being able to help them walk to spiritual maturity so you won't be fleshly, so you won't be carnal, like you were saying.
Right.
So the book that you have is From Defeat to Victory. What
Uh-huh.
can your readers, if they, when they go, you can go to her website. Let me put the website up. So you can go to her website here to purchase that book, From Defeat to Victory Life. To purchase the book, what can readers expect from this book? If they purchase this book today or go online and purchase it, what can they expect, or what do you want them to gain from this book?
From defeat to victory can help them to gain victory in every area of life as they go through the process of purging and purification, as they go through the process of transformation, becoming more like Christ. It deals with pretty much your daily walk, relationships, on the job. Like, these are things that I had to walk through. What do you do now? You are new in Christ. And even if you're not new, because if you don't know you're new, you need to learn it. And
Yeah.
so, what do you do when you are working a job and you get saved? Things change all around you once you give your life over to Christ, and so, thank God that I have a really strong foundation, so I don't take all of the credit. To God be the glory, and to the man of God that I sat under for years, Pastor Ori, Arca Safety Christian Church in St. Charles, Missouri. And so we learn submission, authority. Those things are important. The job that I was in, you become a believer, you working on a job, they remove prayer. How do you handle that?
Right.
you know, just different. Your daily walk. How do you get through your day to day life as a new believer? Things change, and
Right.
so in every area, that is what it helps you with your process of purification, because we all start off defeated. We all start off defeated, in a defeated state. But God said that there's victory through Christ. And so that don't just happen. We have to walk into that victory. And so that is what, From Defeat to Victory is all about, helping you to walk in victory as you go through your process of purging and purification, so that you don't give up and turn back to where you came from, because that's what's going to happen, if you don't learn that. So that's what they will learn from defeat to victory.
Those are life tools that everyone needs. So if you need some victory in your life, you need some strategies, you need some help, go to this website, From Defeat to Victory Life, to order this great information and these tools. I want to just stop and say good evening to everyone who's on with us, Sean and Joyce and Mel and all of Miss Smith's followers, Miss Simone's followers, everyone who's joining us tonight. Thank you all so much. Share this out again. Comment if you have questions. Please let us know. But thank you all so much for being with us. So I know, Simone, you call yourself a victory strategist. So I know we always hear life coach and all this other stuff, right? So what does a victory strategist mean, and how can your services, being a victory strategist, help others?
A victory strategist, we know that one definition of a strategist is skilled in planning the best way to gain advantage or achieve success. My definition of a victory strategist is a person that uses all of the tools that God has given them to gain victory over the enemy. As I said before, we all deal with different situations where we are defeated, feeling defeated, but there is victory. And so, in order to gain that victory, there's a strategy for that victory. We just have to be willing to follow the strategy. The strategy may be forgiveness, the strategy may be getting over offense, the strategy may be building your prayer life, getting over rejection. You just have to be willing to follow that strategy, whatever that is. And so God has given me that for my own life. And so He's also called me and anointed me to help other women to gain victory in their life through using strategy. You know, like I said, with whatever He's leading you to do, it's really about obedience. At the end of the day, there is victory. We just have to be willing to be obedient to God's voice and doing exactly what He's calling us and telling us to do.
Right. So that is so awesome. I mean, we need to be obedient and we need to have, sometimes people don't know how to do, they don't have the steps, they don't know what to do. And so, I mean, that's awesome that you're able to walk alongside these women that want to be better, that want to be mature, that want to walk in the fullness of God. So if you all need help in that area, ladies and gentlemen, please reach out to Simone to,
Yes,
again, to get her services. And again, you can go to her website. And so when they go to your website, and they want to say, they're like, oh my goodness, I'm hearing what she's talking about. I really need to reach out to her. So what can they expect? Like when they go to your website, what services do you offer?
they can go to my website. On my services page, they can actually just sign up for a 15 or 30-minute discovery session. And so the discovery session is just all about just kind of getting to know one another. They can feel me out. I can feel me out, and they can, decide if they feel like if I'm the person that can, actually help them with whatever they're going through. So the discovery session, like I said, that's a great way just kind of get to know me. Hey, I heard you on social media. I just wanted to meet you. Just want to know more about you. I'm a very authentic person. And so I believe in how God works with me. God sent people to me that are ready, you know, and that's how He's always done it. And I don't mind at all, so when they come to me, I know that it's because God sent them and that they're ready. And so the discovery session is a great way. I also have a couple of coachings that I do: confidence coaching, vision coaching. Being a visionary, I love to talk vision. I love to talk goals and plans and things like that. And so God has anointed me in that area as well. I also offer book writing services for those that are into self-publishing or want to self-publish a book. I offer some services in that as well, and spiritual counseling. I'm an ordained minister, and so I served on our spiritual counseling team in my church for several years, lots of years, and so I offer that service as well.
That's awesome. So if you all need some coaching and some counseling and some strategies, please go to her website and book a discovery session so you get to know her a little bit better and you all can decide what services are best needed for you. So I know you mentioned in the beginning of our conversation that you are a newlywed. You were saying you were grateful for, and look at how she glows up, you guys. Look at
Oh,
her smile, put her head to the side like a little girl. You're like, oh my gosh.
I know.
So tell us a little bit more about that. Congratulations on being a newlywed. First year married in the COVID. So how was that for you and your husband and your family?
It was good. It made us really appreciate COVID because that's time that we got to spend early on just being together, and really being able to connect. We have a foundation built on friendship anyway, and so like it was good. Like it's kind of like I never want him to go to work. Like
Oh, well,
we genuinely enjoy each other, and genuinely enjoy each other. Nothing is perfect. We are a blended family, but even in that, I give God glory for that, because marrying again, having two boys that was used to being with their father, that's all they know. And like I said, we were married almost 10 years. And so that was my biggest concern. That was the hardest thing for me, was to get married again. And I almost just sabotaged it. Like, maybe I need to just focus on my kids and but I remember my son, my 16-year-old, he said to me, even before I met my husband, he said, Mom, he said, I asked him one day would he like for me to get married. And he said, yeah, I would like for you to marry somebody before I go to college so that I would be able, to get to know them. And so now we tell him, like, you see what God did for you? You got 4 years, to get to know him. And so, but that's going great. I appreciated my son. And I say I have a 14 and a 16-year-old. My 14-year-old has special needs. And so when I always address the 16-year-old, my 14-year-old, he's like, just take care of me. I'm good. And so my 16-year-old, he's adjusting very, very well. He went through his own process. Of course, kids divorced too. And so I had to just turn him over and let him go through his process. I had to get out of the mommy patrol mode. What's wrong? How you feeling? What's going on? You okay? Are you depressed?
Right.
So I
Yeah.
had to let that go. And honestly, when I did, like I even saw improvement in him. And even to this day, we're like, dude, you are different. You are a different kid. And so he's adjusting very well. He's happy that I'm happy, like most boys. And
Yes.
so doing very well. It's going good. It's going good.
What can you say to all of us who are single, who want to be married again? What words of encouragement can you give the ladies on here tonight who say, you know what, I have children, I want to get married again, I've been divorced, I've gone through the heartache and the pain. Encourage us, Simona, tonight.
The biggest thing, I'm a realist. I'm very authentic. I'm gonna keep it real. And, I'm not one of those people that say you have to be so this and that and that, and then this person is going to come, because I'm like, sometimes, like, God, just thank you. you know. But I will say this, I was in my process of loving myself. I was in that process. I was walking it out, sincerely. And so had a counterfeit before him that made me sit all the way down. And I was like, okay, God, I'm not getting in that anymore. Like, okay, you're gonna have to just let me know. You give me the green light. And so but for the most part, up until the point when I met my husband, I was focused on me. I had a desire to get married. I wrote those desires down, the things I wanted. I had my little list and all of that. And yeah, so just be true to yourself. Be true to yourself. If you want love, confess that you want love. Don't have one conversation with this group and another conversation with this group. Be true to yourself, speak it into the atmosphere. For me, I had, and it trips me out now, but after my divorce and at some point in my process, in my bedroom and my bathroom, I had affirmations everywhere. I had love signs everywhere. Like, I created the atmosphere. I was not going to let divorce make me feel as if I was not going to love again, or I wasn't worthy of love, and all those things. So I created an atmosphere of love that I didn't really understand then. And when love came, I was like, I called this into existence, you know. And so, and I really did. And so, some of the same things that I had in my bathroom, my bedroom, I have it sitting around in my house now. And it's just like, wow, God, you are so amazing. But I'm big on affirmations, um, and just focusing on yourself. I dated myself. I went to the kids would go to sleep. I went to the movies by myself excitedly. I went to dinner by myself. I took walks by myself. I became comfortable in my own skin. And I do those same things even as a married woman. And so I would say just be true to yourself, get to know yourself, because we want love, but once you get it, it's like it's a whole nother, it's like, okay, now what do I do? We say what we would do until we get it, you know. And so, and I'll say this real quick, being that I was married before, and I did it the right way, you know, we did it the right way. We counseled and all of those things. And so I knew how to be a wife. I learned how to be a wife in that marriage. But then when I got with someone that was a different person, when you get with someone that would challenge you, see, with that, it was easy. You know, I could easily flex and be a good wife. When you get with someone that's more of a challenge, it's
Right.
like, okay, okay, maybe I need to work on some things, you know. And so, but just stay true to yourself. Stay
Do you
true to
feel
yourself.
like do you feel like your current husband challenged you in some areas when you were
Yeah, I think any good relationship would challenge you, you know, because like when a person is not doing their job, it's easy for you to be seen as doing your job, you know. But when two people are doing their job, now it's more of a challenge. You can't get too comfortable, or and so so that's kind of what I mean by that. So yes, he challenges me definitely, definitely.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That you know what we need to be challenged. We need to, like you said, know what to, create an atmosphere of love. I love when you said that. Create that atmosphere, those affirmations, speak what you want to have for your life. And I think that is so important. Like you said, don't be wishy-washy. If you want to be married, say it, and just believe God for it. And I know that's something I have to work on because one minute I'll be like, Lord, I don't care if I get married. And then the next minute I'm like, okay, Lord, I want to be married. So
Right,
that's
right.
so that's something that I need to be honest with myself and work on. Like, do I really want to be married? And I really do. But then it's like I'm always so I need to be consistent in
Yeah.
my speech and command what I want for my life. And ladies, command what you want. If you want to be married, Samone is a testament of that. She created that atmosphere. And I know you said it was interesting what you said. You said, I went to the movies excitedly. You didn't
Hmm.
go, so you added that word to it. You said excitedly. And that's so awesome. You didn't
I
go
did.
gradually with the attitude. You said, I'm just going to enjoy myself. And that's so important.
Yeah, I sure did.
She
I
was
saw
like,
Black Panther like 3 times.
She's like, I'm gonna go to the movies and I'm gonna enjoy my life. And that is so awesome. And we need to get out and enjoy our lives instead of waiting, thinking something's gonna fall in our lap. Just continue with life and God will make room for your spouse.
Because that person is not going to make you happy. You know, a person, marriage does not make you happy. You know, you bring happiness into marriage. You know, you combine happiness. And so I think we think that that is what we need to be happy. And it's not going to make us happy.
Oh, and that's so good you say that we need to bring our happiness to the marriage. Don't expect him to make you happy. Yes, you want him to be happy, you're happy.
Right.
Combine your happiness. I love that. That is so awesome. That's some wisdom right there. And I know Nia said that, you're dropping some gems on tonight. So thank you, Nia, for joining us. We appreciate the comment.
That's
Thank
my
you so much.
baby sister, I think. I
Who is that?
think that's my baby sister.
Okay. Hi, baby sister. So yeah, she said you're dropping some gems in here tonight. So thank you all for joining us. So before we start wrapping it up, tell us how are you different today than you were when you were in your 20s? I know you said that's when you really started, or before you discovered God, or before that. What would you tell your 20-year-old self? What would you go back and tell her?
First, I am so different. Many people don't think or realize how different I was. But I smoked cigarettes, Benson and Hedges. You know, I smoked weed, drank all of those things.
Tell your story, honey. Be transparent
Yes,
tonight.
I was a
Yeah.
gambler. I was a gambler. Like I should have called gambling anonymous. I stayed on the casinos like all the time.
Right.
Yes. So many people, even my husband laughed. My people that know me, they know, the change. But so yeah, like yes, I lived a life, but so I'm totally different.
So what would you go back and
Did
tell her today? What, I'm sorry, what you say?
you say something?
I was saying, what would you go back and tell that 20-year-old girl who was smoking the weed and the gambling? What would you go tell her, the Simone today? What would you tell her?
To follow her heart, not follow the crowd, because I was a leader, but when you're kind of young and immature, you tend to, just kind of follow along with the crowd. And so I would say just really, because I've always had this gift of wisdom. I've always been a little different. Even when I was in the world, I was always that different person, you
Right.
know. And so I would tell her to follow her heart, trust the woman that she is, appreciate the woman that she is. Um, that's the main thing, to appreciate. I wish I would have appreciated my uniqueness more. I'm just learning to appreciate it now as a grown woman, but I wish I would have appreciated it more then.
Right. That's so good. We don't take it for granted, or we just, I think that, like you said, we don't know, or maybe that affirmation, us learning how to affirm ourselves, or
Hmm.
know that we're already affirmed by God. So we just don't know. And I think a lot of times with women, we become into our full womanhood as we get into our 40s. And,
Yeah,
the best is yet to come for us. Our latter will be greater than our former. So,
yeah.
just moving forward. And I know Joyce asked, she said, how did you and your new husband meet?
We met online. Black people meet.
Oh, wow. Okay. So online dating works.
And I was totally against online dating. Like I said, I was with my ex for a long time, and so online dating wasn't around. And so a few people was telling me, and I was like, that just didn't seem natural to me.
Right.
And so, but as time went on, of course, I prayed about it, and once I felt comfortable with getting on, I did. And like I met a counterfeit before him,
Right.
so that was one thing. And then so I kind of left it alone. And then later I said, okay, well maybe I'll try a paid site. Maybe I can get some more real if they're paying to be on it.
Right.
And so I tried Black People Meet. I was on there for a couple of weeks. And actually, I reached out to him first. I saw his profile, I read it, and I Googled, like, can a woman reach out to the man first? It was so crazy. And so, and I saw pictures of him. I had been listening to Bishop Blake's Queenology as I was going through my self love process, building myself back up. And I saw pictures with Bishop, and I'm like, wait a minute. And so that's how we met on Black People Meet.
That's awesome. So everybody, online dating can work for you. Like she said, if you're paid for it.
Like anything else, pray. If you don't feel
Amen.
comfortable, leave it alone. If you feel bold enough to try it, then try it. But it worked for us. It
That's
worked for us.
awesome. And one of our watchers said, "You are awesome, Miss Smith." So,
Thank you,
yeah.
husband. That's my husband.
Oh, is that him? Oh, okay. I'm sure that has his name, but yay. How awesome. He's listening to your story. So, how awesome. So, before we leave on tonight, what nuggets or what wisdom would you like to share with our audience? Some words of encouragement on tonight.
Um, Again, I can't say it enough, and it's really just kind of where I am now. Be true to yourself, be authentic, learn yourself. I'm learning so much about myself, because I'm being intentional about it. But be intentional about just self growth, personal development. That's all of
Right.
those things are good, especially when you're single, when you're married too, but especially when you're single. Like those negative things about yourself, like get into those things.
Right.
When I attracted this counterfeit person and after going through a divorce, I was like, God, how did I get back into this situation? This
Mhm.
narcissist. And, I found out that I was an empath. And so I began to study empaths, because it's not bad to be an empath, but you have to know the negative and the positives of being an empath. So learn yourself, study yourself, and become your most authentic self. That's what I would say to
That's
everyone.
so good. So be your authentic self, be true to who you are, learn about yourself, use this time to learn who you are. Like you said, go on dates, date yourself, love yourself, create an environment of love for yourself and in your life. So, what are you looking forward to? We're currently in 2021, super excited to be in another year. We made it through 2020. What are you looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to just being the best woman I can be. Like, I'm excited to meet this woman. Like, seriously, that's the mission I'm on. Like, for real, that's the mission that I'm on. Just excited to see who this person can truly be. And so I'm excited for that. I'm excited, even though everything that's going on in the world, again, we walk by faith and not by sight. I believe that it's all necessary. I believe that we have the victory, and I believe that great things are going to come out of this. But sometimes it has to get ugly. It got to get ugly before it get better. And so I'm excited about what's to come. I don't know what it is, but I'm
Wow.
excited about whatever it is.
So what are you working on? Are you working on any projects? Are you working on anything that we can go on your website or look forward to in 2021 from you?
Yes, I'm working on a few things. And my website is really in the process of being revamped and everything. But my book Flaws, I have been this it's one of those books that you have to like get all up in it. You can't just like
Going through it.
be going through that process to get this book pushed out. Flaws, 5 steps to radical self-love. That's one project that I've been working on. And then with Kingdom Women Walking in Victory, I'm in the process of just really getting that back up and going and just seeing what that looks like being in the city of Houston. And so I do have a team of ladies where we're working on that, working on some things for 2021. And from defeat to victory, just working on my life coaching, just perfecting things. But um, I've been posting. I'm present, but I'm really on pause. So I'm present, but I'm really just taking time, especially for this month of January, just getting refocused, refreshing in the vision, and so that's just kind of where I am right now.
Yes, take the time to recharge, to revamp, to get back on track, and that's awesome. I think we all need to take lesson in that book to do that. And you can follow Simone on her IG and Instagram, her Instagram and Facebook from Defeat to Victory Life Coach. You can follow her, get some more of these gems and some more of these nuggets. So we always ask our women, now that you're part of the Bougie Squad, Bougie, our platform, bold, one of a kind, unbothered, God's girl, intentional and elegant. We are just, that's what this platform is about, to inspire, to uplift, and to encourage. And, we're not the typical stereotypical bougie girls, like, oh, I'm bad and bougie. We revamped it, we redid it, we're bougie. So what
Yeah.
makes you a bougie girl on tonight?
What makes me a bougie girl is boldness. I'm being bold. I'm stepping out. As I said before, I'm not taking time for granted anymore. I'm going to be bold. I'm going to be unapologetic. And I'm going to be my most authentic self. I'm excited and bougie. I'm so excited.
Hey, hey, hey. So thank
Vibe.
you.
Bougie girl is a whole vibe. I'm feeling that whole vibe.
Girl, it's a vibe. Just go ahead and embrace it. It's a vibe. We just bougie over here. That's just what it is. This is the platform that was birthed out of my pain point. with what I've gone through, again, gone through a divorce as well, like you, and just, but God, I'm super grateful. To God be the glory. To God be the glory for your victory, your platform, for your movement, and what God has for you in your life. Super excited to see what God is going to do for you, and just thankful. So, you all, thank you so much for joining us on tonight with Samone Smith. She was such an amazing guest. I'm honored that you said yes. Thank you so much. We'll probably have you back on again to talk about flaws, because we need to hear about that. So I hope you all follow us. Thank you all for who have followed us, who have joined the Bougie Girl movement when we started last year during quarantine. Thank you all for joining us, following us. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. We want to build up our YouTube page, you guys. So follow us and follow Samone as well. Thank you all so much. You all have a blessed night. Samone, don't log off yet. We love you all. Have a good night. Have a blessed weekend. See you on Monday for Motivational Monday. Thank you all so much for joining. Have a good night.